Drift with me now, softly and slowly, into a misty morning long ago, to a quiet clearing tucked between the rolling hills of Virginia, or maybe Tennessee, where dew clings to grass like pearls and the smoke of yesterday still lingers in the air. The year is 1863. The world is at war, but not this hour, not this moment. In the calm hush before day, fully awakens, a Union soldier sleeps beneath a canvas tent flap. His name might be Thomas, or Henry, or James, but tonight, it's simply you. You? Pot clinks on a fire as someone stirs the first batch of bitter black coffee. The wind sighs through tall pine trees above, and a woodpecker begins to tap slowly, methodically, on the trunk of a hollowed oak. The war is real. The uniforms, the letters, the marching boots, and the distant orders shouted across valleys. But for now, before the noise, there is stillness, there is breath, there is quiet, there is quiet, there is. Faint light slips across your cheeks and the worn wool of your jacket. You sit up slowly. Your back aches, not badly, just the usual soreness that comes from months of sleeping outdoors on hard ground, far from the warmth of a feather bed. You rub your eyes, adjust your cap, and take in the morning. A few others nearby have risen early too, stoking fires, brushing dust from coats, checking equipment, but no one speaks loudly. There's a kind of reverence to the hour, as if all in the camp know these few moments before the full day begins are sacred. The sky glows faintly, tinged with pale orange. A low fog curls through the trees, wrapping around the tents and cook fires like a blanket. Somewhere, a dog barks, faint and far away, perhaps from a farmhouse down the hill. But otherwise, the world is muted. You stretch. Slowly, carefully. Your hands are cracked, and your fingernails darkened with earth and ash. But your breathing is steady. You are alive. And for this moment, there is peace. Welcome to a soldier's quiet morning, a soft beginning to another long day in a world divided. But here, for now, all that exists is the breath of the trees, the scent of smoke, and the stillness of dawn. Close your eyes. Feel the air. We're just getting started. The fog curls low over the field like a great woolen shawl laid over the shoulders of the earth. The tents stand like pale grey ghosts in the early light. Some flapping gently in the breeze, others already packed away and bundled on carts. The camp begins to stir. You rise slowly, your joints stiff from another night spent on uneven ground. The grass is damp beneath your boots, soaked with dew. You rub your eyes and pull your blue wool coat around your shoulders, not for style, but for warmth. It still carries the scent of wood smoke and sweat from yesterday's march. All around you, your fellow soldiers are emerging from sleep in much the same way. Some kneel at small fires, warming their hands over flickering flames. Others adjust their belts and suspenders, tuck extra socks into their packs, or tie on leather boots caked with the red mud of Virginia roads. Nearby, a drummer boy stretches and then carefully unwraps his drum, adjusting the straps and tapping out a soft cadence on its taut surface, more out of habit than necessity. That rhythm, gentle and constant, seems to ease the tension in the air. The first orders of the day float across the camp, not shouted, but spoken firmly and deliberately by a captain whose voice carries through the trees. Roll call will be soon. Rations are being distributed now. A quartermaster sets up crates of hardtack and salt pork near the edge of camp. You shuffle over with your tin plate and wait your turn, nodding politely at the cook who ladles out coffee as black as ink, steaming from a battered kettle. It's bitter and tastes of soot, but it warms your chest and your fingers as you drink. You sit on an overturned bucket, sip slowly, and look around. There's Corporal Jenkins reading a letter from home for the third time. His lips move silently as he traces the words with his finger. There's young Amos, not more than 17, practicing the buttons on his coat again. He's new and wants to do everything right. And there's Big Joe, already humming an old hymn under his breath, while he polishes his bayonet with a piece of flannel. The sounds are few and familiar. Fire crackling, water slushing in a tin basin, the soft thud of boots against dirt, and the ever-present murmur of the trees overhead. Above, the sun is rising slowly, casting long, pale beams of light between the tree trunks. A gentle mist lifts, and the morning air smells of damp earth, pine, and gun oil. Soon, the bugle will sound. You'll pack your things and fall into line with hundreds of others, rifles on your shoulders, eyes forward, but not yet. For now, you savor these few final minutes, the slow unraveling of sleep, the warmth of coffee, the sight of your fellow soldiers waking into the day like a family shaped by shared hardship. In this moment, in this hush, you are part of something larger, a living thread in the great quilt of history. The first glow of dawn stretches across the horizon, casting a muted golden light over the dew-covered grass and dusty trail ahead. The still air carries the scent of wet earth, canvas, and the lingering smoke of last night's campfires. In the grey-blue silence of early morning, soldiers begin to stir from their tents. Boots shuffle softly over the ground. Quiet voices murmur as they prepare for the day ahead. Canteens are filled, belts are tightened, and rifles are checked. Not with urgency, but with routine, as though the motions have been performed 100 times before. The order comes gently through the line, a low voice from a mounted officer. Fall in. There's no drumbeat this morning, only the steady, rhythmic clatter of gear as men take their places in formation. The march begins. Boots meet the dirt in a slow, steady cadence. The line moves forward along a winding trail through tall trees, sunlight speckling their path in golden patterns. Soldiers carry their rifles slung across their shoulders, haversacks thumping against their sides with each step. Some talk quietly, others walk in silence, letting the rhythm of the march lull them into a kind of meditation. The world around them is gentle and waking. Birds chirp overhead. A fox slips across the trail and disappears into the brush. Somewhere in the distance, a brook murmurs over stones. They pass through small towns where women hang laundry on lines and children wave from fences. Horses lift their heads to watch the column go by. The soldiers wave back, some smiling faintly, some too tired for more than a nod. Now and then, the line halts. A shoe is retied. A wagon is cleared from the road. A moment of rest is stolen under the shade of a sycamore, and then the line moves again. There is a strange comfort in the rhythm. Left foot, right foot, breathe in, breathe out. Though each soldier walks alone, surrounded by thoughts and dust, and sunlight. They are bound together by shared purpose and quiet endurance. And so, the march continues, one slow, steady mile at a time. The sun has risen high now, casting a soft haze across the march trail. Heat wavers gently above the dusty path, and the once dewy grasses along the roadside now crunch beneath boots, dry and golden in the noonday glare. At last, the call comes, not shouted, but passed gently from voice to voice. Rest here. With a collective sigh, the column slows and halts. Soldiers step out of formation, removing their knapsacks and letting their shoulders relax. Some sink to the ground beneath shady trees, others lean against fence posts or stretch their backs as they gaze toward the horizon. The world seems to pause with them. In a shaded clearing near a small stream, canteens are dipped and filled with cool water. Tin cups clink softly as they're used to scoop and drink. The sound of trickling water is a soothing hum beneath the lazy drone of insects. Nearby, a soldier opens his haversack and takes out a piece of hardtack, the dry, simple bread that's travelled with him many miles. He eats slowly, as if each bite must last the hour. Others chew on salt pork or small apples, gifts from a friendly farmer earlier in the week. Laughter floats now and then, not loud or raucous, but gentle, as two soldiers swap quiet stories. One tells of home, of a sister learning to play the piano. Another remembers the smell of warm bread from his mother's kitchen. Some write in journals, their pencils scratching slowly across rough pages. Others lie back on their bedrolls, hats tilted over their eyes, arms behind their heads, dozing in the warmth of the afternoon. A dog wanders into camp. A stray that's followed the column for days now. It weaves between the men, sniffing for crumbs and tail wagging lazily. A soldier pats its head, and it curls beside him, content. For a moment, there is no war, no worry, no marching. Only the rustle of leaves, the whisper of wind, and the low hum of shared quiet. The break will not last long. But for now, beneath the trees and the summer sky, the soldiers breathe deep, stretch sore legs, and let their thoughts drift. The sun has now risen above the treetops, casting long shadows across the dew-covered road ahead. As the company falls into formation, the energy of the camp transforms from sleepy routine into marching rhythm. There is a call from the bugle, the sergeant's loud voice, and the sudden synchronized shuffling of boots over hardened earth. With rifles slung over shoulders and knapsacks secured, the soldiers begin their slow and steady journey down the road. Dust kicks up with each step, catching the morning light. The sound of hundreds of feet moving in unison becomes a kind of heartbeat. Steady, constant, and almost hypnotic. The column moves past pastures, through quiet woodlands, and alongside fences where cows watch curiously. Sometimes, the locals gather by the roadside to wave or offer hardtack or apples. Children run beside the column for a while, then vanish into the dust cloud behind the rear ranks. The soldier adjusts his pack, already feeling the straps dig into his shoulders. His canteen swings at his hip, sloshing with each stride. His thoughts drift to his family, to his aching feet, to the possibility of battle waiting over the next hill. They march for miles in silence, save for the jangle of bayonets, the occasional cough, and the low murmurs passed between friends. Every now and then, a tune begins. A soldier starts humming or softly singing, and before long, a chorus emerges, lifting the tired spirits of the group. Songs like "When Johnny Comes Marching Home" or "The Battle Cry of Freedom" become the soundtrack of the day. The officer rides up and down the column on horseback, offering corrections, encouragement, or simply keeping pace with his men. He tips his hat at a young girl handing out biscuits near a fence post, then nods to his lieutenant to press forward. By mid-morning, the sun grows hot. The soldiers sweat under their wool uniforms, their mouths dry. The march slows occasionally, to allow a wagon to catch up or a soldier to rest by the roadside for a few minutes. But there's no luxury of long breaks. The column must reach the next stop by nightfall. As they continue down the dusty path, the soldier takes in the beauty of the countryside, rolling fields, weathered barns, distant church spires. It's a strange contrast, peaceful surroundings and men marching toward the storm of war. His boots thud rhythmically as he walks, step after step, mile after mile. And so, the day of a Civil War soldier carries on, not in glory or chaos, but in endless marching under the wide American sky. By early afternoon, the marching halts. The men are granted a brief rest in a shaded glen beside a narrow creek. Boots come off. Socks are wrung out and hung on branches, and canteens are refilled with filtered stream water. Some men lie back in the grass, with their hats pulled low, catching what rest they can. Others gather around to share what little tobacco or dried fruit they still carry. For many, this is the moment they reach for their most prized possession: a letter from home. Our soldier carefully opens the creased envelope tucked safely in his knapsack. The paper is worn from many readings, but he handles it as though it were made of silk. It's a letter from his younger sister, full of updates from the farm, tales of the neighbor's new calf, and the first frost hitting the pumpkin patch. Her handwriting loops carefully across the page, ending with a hopeful line: "Stay safe and come home to us soon." Another soldier reads aloud a letter from his sweetheart, her words blushing even as he laughs with his friends. One man pulls out a crayon drawing sent by his child, a stick figure father with a rifle and a sunny sky above. He pins it inside his jacket like a talisman. For others, there is no mail. They sit a little more quietly, eyes watching the horizon, imagining what a letter might say. They borrow the good news of others, smiling at someone else's baby's first word or a neighbor's wedding back home. A few take up pencil and paper to write replies. Using their knees as desks, they write of aching feet, of sunburnt necks, of comrades who snore too loudly, and officers who inspect too often. But beneath it all is the same message: I miss you, I'm doing fine, and tell Ma I love her. These letters become the bridge between two worlds, the world of war and the world of waiting. A lifeline written in ink, smudged by travel and held close to the heart. A chaplain moves between groups, handing out small pamphlets and offering prayers or comfort where needed. He stops to share a biscuit with our soldier, who folds his letter carefully and tucks it into his coat pocket. The bugle sounds again. Time to move. Boots are laced, hats replaced, and rifles slung over shoulders once more. But the mood has shifted. The letters have rekindled something gentle, something deeply human. A reminder that beyond the march, beyond the battlefield, beyond even the war, there is love waiting. And so, the column moves forward again, not just with dust on their boots, but with hope in their hearts. As the sun dips below the tree line and long shadows stretch across the field, the column of weary soldiers finally halts for the night. The air cools quickly, and the sweat of the day dries uncomfortably on uniforms. Orders are shouted, tents here, fires there, stack arms along the edge, and the men move with practiced rhythm, even in exhaustion. Our soldier helps unroll canvas and gather kindling for a small fire. Sparks crackle to life as matches are struck and flames flicker. Soon, a scattering of campfires dots the clearing like stars fallen to earth. Supper is a modest affair. Salt pork is carved with pocket knives and tossed into tin pans with hardtack softened by boiling water. Some mix in dried beans or coffee grounds. Whatever they've managed to save or trade, others simply chew the hardtack dry, tapping it on rocks to crack it open. Our soldier adds a pinch of chicory to his coffee, a trick taught by a man from Louisiana. The brew is bitter, but it's hot. And that makes all the difference. Laughter begins to rise in the darkness. Someone starts telling a tall tale about a mule that outran a locomotive. Another fellow pulls out a harmonica, playing a slow, haunting tune that blends with the chirping crickets and crackling fire. A group sings along quietly, voices low, more lullaby than performance. Nearby, a corporal carves a small wooden figure, perhaps a likeness of his wife, perhaps a child's toy to send home. Another sews up a tear in his jacket by firelight, tongue pressed to his lip in concentration. The officers sit slightly apart, checking maps by lantern glow and discussing the morning's movements. The sound of quills scratching on parchment blends with murmurs and the shuffle of men bedding down. Our soldier leans back on his rolled blanket, cup in hand, watching sparks drift upward into the starlit sky. He thinks of home, of his father's porch, of crickets singing in the summer wheat, of a sister humming while she hangs laundry on the line. He wonders if they're looking at the same moon tonight. Beside him, his friend coughs into his sleeve, the kind of cough that lingers longer than it should. He offers him the rest of his coffee, and they sit in silence together, the unspoken fear of sickness hanging in the smoke-filled air. Eventually, the fires die down. Tin cups are emptied. Boots are lined up by sleeping rolls. And one by one, the men curl under their blankets, rifles within reach, hats pulled over eyes. The stars above are bright and indifferent. Sleep comes slowly, but it comes. Not with peace, but with the heaviness of fatigue. Another day is done. Later in the night, the camp is hushed. Fires have burned low, and many soldiers lie still beneath their blankets, clutching rifles or using haversacks as pillows. The scent of smoke and damp canvas clings to the air, mingling with the earthy perfume of pine needles and the distant, sweet smell of honeysuckle carried on the wind. But sleep does not come easily for everyone. Our soldier sits upright beneath a tree, lantern resting beside him, scratching out a letter to his mother on a crumpled piece of paper. His handwriting is slow and careful, shaped by the dim light and tired hands. He writes not of battles or suffering, but of the sunrise over the hills, of the friendly face of a chaplain who brought a song to camp, and of the birds that still sing in the morning, despite all the noise of war. "Dear Mama," he begins, "we marched 30 miles this week, and I have a blister the size of a silver dollar, but my boots held and were all in one piece. I think often of your blackberry pie and Papa's fiddle. Tell little Sarah I still carry her ribbon in my breast pocket." Nearby, another man writes to his sweetheart, folding a pressed flower into the envelope. A third carves his initials into the wooden grip of his rifle, not out of vanity, but to leave a mark in case the worst happens. From the edges of camp comes the soft murmur of guards on duty. The midnight watch has begun. These men walk slowly along the perimeter, their eyes sweeping the woods, ears tuned to every distant snap of twig or flutter of bird wing. The moon casts long shadows, making the tents look like rows of sleeping giants. Each guard wears a cloak or blanket draped over his shoulders to fight off the cool night air. A few speak quietly to each other, often not with words of strategy, but of homesickness, worry, and hope. If I make it back, one says, he'll never complain about washing the horse again. If I make it back, replies the other, I'll ask Mary to marry me before I even take my boots off. Back in the camp, our soldier folds the letter and tucks it into his satchel for the next post runner. He glances at the sky. The stars are clear tonight, wheeling slowly across the heavens. He tries to match constellations his father taught him: Orion's belt, the Big Dipper, Cassiopeia. He lies back and breathes deeply. Somewhere, a lone owl hoots. Somewhere else, a man coughs in his sleep. The war feels far away in this moment, as if time has paused and given them all a single breath of peace. But the war will return with the morning light. He knows this. They all know it. And still, they rest. The sky remains unchanged. The stars, bright and eternal, shine down upon both the weary and the waking. The first light of dawn spills gently over the horizon, brushing the tops of the trees with soft gold. The birds are the first to stir. Cardinals, robins, and jays calling to each other as the sky shifts from charcoal to pearl. In the stillness of the breaking day, a single sound pierces the quiet, the steady, measured beat of the morning drum. Rat-a-tat, tat, rat-a-tat. It begins as a distant echo, barely noticeable above the chirping of birds and the rustle of canvas. But soon, other drums take up the rhythm. One by one, throughout the camp, men rise, stretching sore limbs, rubbing eyes heavy with sleep, and fumbling for boots that had been hastily kicked off the night before. Our soldier opens his eyes just as the sun peeks through the trees. He groans softly as he pushes himself up, joints stiff, back aching from the hard earth. Around him, the others move slowly, shaking out bedrolls, adjusting belts, buckling cartridge boxes. The smell of black coffee wafts from the commissary tent, mixed with wood smoke and the scent of unwashed wool. Breakfast is meager: stale biscuits, hardtack softened with water, maybe a piece of salt pork if supplies allow. Still, it is enough to fill their bellies and warm their hands. Officers shout morning orders, company sergeants bark names and check gear. And once more, as the bugle rings out across the field, the ranks are formed, straight lines of tired men standing shoulder to shoulder, rifles gleaming in the morning sun. Today may bring a march, or battle, or waiting. They do not know, but they stand ready all the same. Our soldier adjusts the strap of his haversack and feels the letter he wrote last night, tucked inside. He pats it once, for luck. Then he looks around, at the men who have become his brothers, at the clouds above gathering like silent witnesses, at the road stretching out before them. He does not feel brave. He does not feel strong. But he moves forward. The boots begin to tramp in rhythm. Dust kicks up from the path. The The colors of their flag ripple in the wind, held aloft by a boy no older than 16. Behind them, the camp is already fading into the trees. Ahead, the road stretches endlessly toward the smoke of towns, the thunder of distant guns, the weight of history. And still, they march. For duty, for honor, for survival, for each other.